It wasn't a gazette notice, it was communication, adding new roles as Foreign Affairs CS. There is the mission that received an appointment for an ambassador, Hargeisa, but clarification came later that it's actually a liaison office. What is the position of the Kenyan government on the place of Somaliland?
First of all, Somalia is taking up a very good direction. Let me put it that way. And we want that country to be stable. There are challenges that still remain. Different factions or different clan-related issues that still affect parts of Somalia. But I'll give you an indication, perhaps the strongest signal ever, that normalcy is beginning to return to Somalia is the fact that just a few weeks back, or a few days ago, the East African community has more or less given the green light now for Somalia to become a member of the East African community. That is a huge statement that we are looking at. And that means that the East African community is recognizing the government that is in place. I think that is really what I can tell you about that.
Did it cause a diplomatic challenge?
No.
When there was said to be a high commissioner, or is it an ambassador to Hargeisa?
No, you see, sometimes communication can perhaps can slip through our fingers.
Okay.
But as far as I'm concerned, we recognize one government in Somalia, and that's the government that we are looking forward to joining the East African community.
There's another confusion, Waziri, about the place of Sahrawi Republic. And immediately President Ruto was sworn in. In fact, there was representation from Sahrawi Republic itself. Then after that, he said that Kenya is no longer recognizing that. Eventually, it was changed by the then Principal Secretary at that time.
You know, the Sahrawi thing is, remember, it was passed within the African Union.
Yes.
Okay. But there also are challenges with some of the African Union countries that still remain unresolved or unsettled. And therefore, while we respect the African Union position, I think it is only prudent that we manage this issue carefully, because the concerns also fall within other member countries of the AU. And that is where the matter should rest for now.
So what is the government's position, the government of Kenya, on the place of Sahrawi Republic?
I think right now, let us make it very clear that we respect the African Union position, but there are challenges that affect other member countries, and those will take some time to resolve.
So the African Union position is to recognize that region, isn't it?
Yes, that was taken.
Okay. So the Principal Secretary at that time said, he released communication saying that it should equally be noted that Kenya does not conduct its foreign policy on Twitter or any other social media platforms, but rather through official government documents and frameworks. That was Macharia Kamau. And he was saying this upon the communication that was released by the new president at that time, William Ruto. How much of communication is still going on Twitter, and does this represent the position of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs?
And I think that's an unfair communication, an unfair question to say how much would I know that is communication going on through Twitter. That is a debatable issue, my friend, because people may tweet differently. But as we speak now, we in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs will communicate officially on matters as sensitive as that, if and the situation demands that we make communication.
Well, official channels.
So yes, we will communicate.
What?
Proper statement, a proper communique comes out.
I ask that because, I mean, the officers of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs have over time been saying several interesting things or controversial things on the social media, talking about the former PS, the current PS, sometimes even contradicting serving cabinet secretaries. What is that? Or those are personal opinions?
I think those are personal issues. That's why I'm saying that that is not the official communication, is it? Those are personal issues. If people are communicating their concerns and their issues on Twitter, please do not mistake that as official government communication.
But does it bother you as the minister in charge of foreign affairs?
Of course it does, but we can only talk to it, and once we communicate better and people get to understand the established communication channels, then we'll be able to overcome some of these challenges. And
when the same officers are saying different things and the public is responding to them, including your own friends in the international scene, how do you deal with that? Especially when it goes against, for instance, the Sahrawi issue? If there is an issue for clarification, we are available to clarify. I think that's the best thing I can tell you. Okay, all right. I want us to talk about the foreign policy of the country. There has been this debate. Are we still facing east? Is it west? Or is it after our interests? What is it, as you know it? We are engaging all countries. All these countries have missions here. We have joint economic cooperation agreements with them and MOUs with them. All these countries help us in different sectors. They have different interests. So we engage all of them. Yeah. And so we're not leaning either west or east. Is that what you're saying? We are working robustly with all our partners. When you look at the visits that the president has made, several of them to Western nations, if you're talking about the Americas or the US, if you're talking about Europe, that is UK, France, Germany, there are quite a number. France, Germany, and UK, you're talking about some 7 visits at least. The US, 2 or 3 or thereabout, and some of them have been, you can see the magnitude. We're not facing east, facing west? You're forgetting that he has been to China? Once. Are you sure? Yes. Are you forgetting that we are going to go to, I told you earlier, that we are headed to India? You will, you haven't. Yes. Waziri, you know this better than many how do you regard Japan, who is a strong partner of ours? How many times has he visited? He's going to visit, I can tell you that. Japan, for instance, is perhaps our largest bilateral partner. Do you see a shift? He was in Korea. You forgot that his first trip was to Korea. Yes, he was. Yeah. The other day, he has made quite a number of visits to Saudi in the Middle East. And he's made several trips to African countries. He wants a strong partnership across the board. Where there's an investment opportunity in infrastructure, and it's coming strongly from China, it's coming from Japan, we will engage. If there's a business opportunity by the private sector, like the United States have shown that they want to have the largest manufacturing plant here, Moderna, we will engage. If the UK says that they want to assist us so that we can rehabilitate our railway system and have a modernization and rehabilitation of our railway system, we will engage. And now, if India wants to support us in agriculture, maybe cotton, rice, and what have you, we will engage. I'm asking that because for the very first time, we have seen a US ambassador marketing Kenya probably more than any Kenyan ambassador has, so aggressively. I'm talking about Ambassador Meg Whitman. And she's been doing that both in the country, but also in the US when the president was there, to an extent of even talking about, if I may quote here, that the reason why she's doing that is because Kenya is the most stable democracy in East Africa. Kenya is the gateway to the East African market of nearly 500 consumers. Kenya is the regional logistics hub, leading finance hub, leading destination for foreign direct investments and venture capital. Silicon Savannah with super smart engineers and a dedicated and entrepreneurial workforce. That's quite aggressive for a Western ambassador. Don't you think you should be proud of it as a Kenyan? I want to be proud, but I want to understand the government position in terms of shifting policy. You're a man with a very good understanding, and I think you should be proud
that an American ambassador or an ambassador of such a nation can give such credit to your country, to our country. I think it's a very important statement. And I think we should celebrate the fact that we are being seen in that light by our friends.
Do you think it is the place of a foreign ambassador in a country to be endorsing a government of what she thinks?
Yes, she can say what she thinks, and she's entitled to say what she thinks. All right? When they talk about Kenya has a robust democracy, don't you think it's true?
The reason why I'm asking that question is the statement that she gave, endorsing an election that you'd find there's a political divide that still feels that's not the case.
I think the process went through. We had an election. The people who had concerns went to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court made a ruling, unanimous ruling, that the process was okay and the victor is rightfully in office. When are we going to get out of the hangover that election is behind us?
Okay, so if your ambassador did that in a foreign country,
there's absolutely nothing wrong.
You'd have no problem with that?
No.
Let's talk about the visits that the president has made. And of course, he's gone to the UK 2 times. First, the funeral of the late Queen of England, the second time coronation of the current king. And in that, actually the king came to the country. What was going on behind the scenes that we didn't see, and what is this geared to in as far as the positioning of Kenya in the global space?
You know, when the king visited here, we also had official engagements. The official visit of the king as a state visit is one. He is the head of state there. Now, on the other side, we talked and engaged about the development, bilateral issues that relate to the two of us.
And PCS, during that time of the visit, there had been a lot of voices, people talking about the reparations for the Mau Mau contest, about what may have happened over the years, 60 years later. But you didn't hear the voice of the government. What does the government think about those voices?
The government is very serious about those voices. The structure of that meeting, as it was that the king wanted to engage separately on his own with some of the individuals who may have been directly affected on some issues. So the whole idea was that he wanted that moment of exclusivity of conversing with them, not a situation where the government is seen to be the one driving that conversation. Okay? So I just wanted you to take note of that. However, a few days ago, I was in Ghana representing the president of Kenya on the AU-initiated process of the reparations from past colonial governments and atrocities. This was now chaired by Akufo-Addo, of President of Ghana. Now, I was there to represent the government of Kenya in the conversation of having a unified approach and strategy under the umbrella of AU on matters reparation.
Right.
Okay? And this brings not just Africa, but it also brings the African in the diaspora, the Caribbean. Okay?
So there was no direct discussion on this with the king or the government of UK?
No. That one did not take place.
Okay. I want to talk about the region, the East African region. And recently there has been contestation from the government of Uganda, specifically on the trade through Kenya, specifically on the question of oil. And they are not happy. In fact, the president said that they are no longer going to engage with brokers for their oil. What is going on here?
I think there are issues that will be sorted out. There could be some supply chain issues that have come into play because of the G2G arrangement. But these are being addressed, and I am sure that we shall be able to handle the concerns that are there. Uganda and the region is a very key player, is one of our largest trading partners, and from time to time there will always be issues about our trading relationship and from one commodity to the other.
Has there been direct engagement with the government of Uganda on those, especially the question of oil?
We have the key departments working through that to figure out what are the issues. We have the Ministry of Energy, and I would want to allow them to continue the process of engagement, and we shall be able to move on.
But PCS, you have coordination roles. I thought you would have an idea.
Yes, but when people are having a conversation, it doesn't mean that my coordination role must be that I'll just snap my fingers and say that has been sorted out, that has been sorted out. I'm trying to tell you that there's a process which involves conversation.
Please indulge me, because I want us to quickly speak about what's happening locally in the country. And you're a politician. I would imagine that beyond this, you also have ambitions. Don't you think the role of CS Foreign Affairs, Diaspora Affairs is sort of taking you away from your political base?
When is the election?
I know it is in 2027, but don't you think?
No, I think I want to put a closure to certain things. I came in very clearly that we want to support President Ruto. And I have every reason to believe that President Ruto intends to defend his position in 2027.
Right.
And I have made a decision that I will back him in his second attempt. Therefore, the whole issue of this other debate, as far as Honorable Musalia Mudavadi is concerned, should be put to closure. What is important now is, can we resuscitate the economy? And I am on record as saying that the dilemma we were put in and the dilemma we found ourselves in is such that it will take a painful 2 to 3 years before we start seeing real adjustments.
Talk to me about the National Dialogue Committee is recommending that as part of dealing with the cost of living, the government should cut travel budget by 50%, and also the daily subsistence allowances should be reduced by 30% by the SRC. How viable is this at a time that you've been on an aggressive campaign to really market the country, and that requires travel?
It may require travel, but you just then work around the suggestions. If Parliament endorses that report and it's supported, then it's part of the austerity measures, and we would have to live with it. We would just have to use technology as well to enhance the aspects of the diplomacy. But of course, nothing can replace people-to-people contact. Okay,
so for now you have not looked at the cost of travel and how that can be reduced?
We have. There are areas of, by the way, delegations have been reduced drastically when we're going out to the people are going very, very lean in number.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so you're speaking about we have to improve the economy, or the government has to improve the economy, of course, with the people before the next election. But that has not been what people are feeling. In fact, today, I'm sure you interact with people and they'll tell you how difficult life has become because of the taxation questions, the cost of living itself. Apart from unga, whose price has quite reduced, many other things are up.
Yes, it's true. It's painful. I mean, on that one, I agree with you that I said it's going to take us about 2 to 3 years of a bit of pain and difficult times. I said it from the word go. But Sam, if you'll remember, and I think you interviewed me on this, as far back as about 2015, 2016, I think in one of your interviews, we talked about this thing. If we go back to those clips, you will recall that I forewarned that the level of borrowing that the government was indulging in was going to haunt us. Yes, hasn't it come to pass?
And so what is the solution? Because
so the solution is that we are trying to correct a very serious situation. And I'll want to give you an example. For us to move ahead, we have to engage with the IMF. And we have to engage with the World Bank. And we have to engage with our development partners. Because there's no way we can raise all that money at the moment from our local resources. So it has to be a mix of the two. People are shouting, but just contemplate a Kenya without IMF support at this point in time. Just contemplate a Kenya without World Bank support at this point in time. If they think this is bad, we would be in fire.
How does fire look like?
The fire? Oh, the fire looks like when all your aid is cut off. You can imagine that. Your programs grind to a halt. You cannot pay your debts. Your assets are being impounded in different countries. That is how bad it can get. You can imagine if Kenya Airways flew somewhere and the planes are being impounded in those countries. So this is the magnitude of what we are going through is very serious. And I give you this example because I was also previously a Minister for Finance. Okay? So it is not a walk in the park. But I also want Kenyans to know that Kenya is a shareholder in IMF. And Kenya is also a shareholder in the bank. Okay? So these are institutions that we subscribe to.
And tell me,
so the whole issue of changing the economy means that if these institutions give you a red card, it will affect not just the government, but it will also affect the private sector of Kenya. They will not be able to access their own credit lines in other countries.
Right.
So it is a very serious matter.
But tell me this, because previously we had a debt ceiling of 10 trillion shillings that was to expire June 2024. Of course, we already passed that as early as June this year. Then there is a new policy debt anchor of 55% of GDP. Again, we're too far away beyond that debt anchor. So we're getting the facilities from IMF and the World Bank regardless of the ceiling?
You see, they look at policies. There are many policies that we have to look at. It's not just a one-off issue. There are so many things. Are we managing the physical issues properly? Are we restricting public expenditure and all that? So all these accumulate into a program with the IMF and the World Bank. So all I can say at this point in time, that it is going to be hard, but it is absolutely essential that we engage positively with these institutions.
So for you, because you've been in that space, you would know, then why have ceilings? Why have debt anchors?
So that you don't overborrow. So that you live within your means.
Okay.
So there must be some regulation, some guidelines.
So tell me, as we conclude, there was something that came from different government offices or departments. Case in point, the citizen services and the charges that are being increased. Isn't this a bit of insensitivity on the side of government? Yes, you want to raise revenue, but when does government stop?
I think it was revoked.
It was revoked and another one introduced.
It was revoked.
With a lot of similarity.
It was revoked. I think the ones that were extremely contentious were revoked. And they were reviewed, or at least they're in the process of review. So the truth is, it's a bit difficult. All the things we do will not be popular. Some will be painful at some stage. But by and large, I want to say that our resolve will yield results down the line.
So you say 2 to 3 years, which you haven't had.